Thank you, LEGO, for sending this set for review. Throwing me back to my childhood, LEGO Ideas picked up a very nostalgic take for many Europeans, I'd say, with their newest Tintin Moon Rocket set, based off of the vehicle and characters as seen in Destination Moon and Explorers on the Moon Tintin books. There's much to be excited about this on what seems like a near-perfect product for the brand, so without further ado, let's get on with this LEGO review. For starters, the building instructions highlight the fan designer Alexis, a fellow Portuguese LEGO building genius I've had the pleasure of meeting many times before. There have been several Portuguese LEGO designers working on LEGO Ideas sets in the past, and several attempts by Portuguese fan designers to get ideas approved without success. I would know, so for him to be the first Portuguese to nail this makes us all as a nation feel very proud of him. The rest of the BI has the usual rundown about the source material that inspired the set and a few points about the LEGO model design. It is interesting, however, that the LEGO Ideas strayed away from the original submission that had the platforms to support the rocket, choosing to remove them and include minifigures instead, which to me feels like the absolute perfect choice for this set. I mean, I don't know if you've built the Artemis space launching system, but the prospect of building something like that twice brings back some very terrible and tedious memories. With that said, the minifigure lineup is pretty neat, featuring 6 of the most prominent characters seen in the original Moon-related adventures. The 5 astronaut spacesuits are all the same, with prints front and back, carrying the oxygen tanks and those cool bubble helmet pieces. Tintin with his blonde hair had to be included, of course, featuring a secondary face print and a radio backpack, I think, same as Captain Haddock with his usual grumpy look and an alternate face print too. Professor Calculus is the only minifigure of this set without a secondary face print and no object in hand, but does have that bald hairpiece on top. And last but not least, Thompson and Thompson, a pair of characters I was shocked to find are actually not twin brothers, despite their very similar appearance, with the only distinguishable difference being their slightly different mustache, featured in both of their head prints. And let's not forget Snowy, of course, or Milou, depending on where you are from in the world, a new LEGO animal piece, I feel, dual molded and featuring decorations for his spacesuit and head prints. A small black stand is provided with this set as the minifigures, while fully equipped, will very easily fall back due to the weight of the oxygen tanks. This does make them very easy to move around and be displayed next to the rocket, arguably one of the most iconic vehicles anyone can probably associate with the comics. And this thing looks clean. Despite the somewhat outdated look of the source material and therefore the model, it still holds up incredibly well as a display piece, especially when you start giving it a closer look at how refined the look is. It may be hard to notice, but the main fuselage has slight angles here and here, making the overall shape, that could otherwise be very straight and boring looking, have that little bit of flair that follows through both on the top cone and the bottom, onto which the 3 fins attach to. All of that shaping made it so that there wasn't room for an interior except for the top, where the domed pieces have enough room for the control cabin with a few stickers for the dials, stars outside, and another with a view of Earth. Besides that, there's just the radio and a steering wheel element representing one of the rocket's many hatches. The feet aren't flawless, as there's a bunch of different shapes that don't come together perfectly, but honestly, I'm just nitpicking at this point. It still holds up very well. Building this thing was both interesting and repetitive, especially on the main body section of it all, with a very heavy Technic core onto which the fuselage pieces were then connected to. The way the fins were put together, though, was incredibly satisfying, with a few LEGO triangles going on to get the angles just right, after which these were added to the main build for a very good looking end result. As a display piece, for fans of the comics, it doesn't get much better than this, even more so when considering the minifigure lineup included. It would have been nice that we had classic clothing for Tintin, but again, if this is all we're ever getting out of LEGO Tintin in a lifetime, I'm honestly fine with it. The price, though, is a bit much if you ask me. 1,300 pieces for a retail price of $160 is slightly overpriced, but then again, Again, in line with how LEGO handles IP licenses these days, so there's that. I'm kinda curious to see how this does overseas, as I'm not sure Americans have been as exposed to Tintin as Europeans have over the years, so do let me know in the comments. Congrats to Alexis once again, and I'll see you all on the next one. Maybe.